It is I, Emperor Jonwayne Frankenstein, also reoccurring forever Game Master and Dungeon Master. Now, most of the time I make videos where I talk about conquering the world, artificial intelligence, strange, bizarre things, or I watch and review really bad, cheesy horror movies. But today I'm going to address a highly controversial subject, that of character creation and tabletop role-playing games, specifically Dungeons and Dragons and min-maxing. A little bit about myself. I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons before most of the people playing it nowadays were even born. I mean, I had all the first edition books, but I was playing before then, when they came in little boxes and with cheap plastic dice and stuff like that, when no one knew what it was, and you were considered a nerd and a reject for playing such games. But nowadays, it's become mainstream popular. And find all these cute little cosplayers and all these little teeny kids and whatnot going on and on about Dungeons and Dragons, talking like they are the God's gifts to the game and know everything there is to know. And that's fine. Sometimes they're amusing, sometimes they're interesting. Some of them I like more than others. But the simple fact is there's a lot of us that have been playing before you were even born. Sometimes before even your parents were born. And, well, it's time for us to get a voice too. Now, this controversial topic is character creation. There's something known as character optimization or min-maxing. And most of the people, especially the younger kids, go on about how this is a horrible thing to do. And you're a bad person if you do it. And there's a lot of videos about how Game Masters should deal with the problem of min-maxers. And that is the most flawed point of view possible. Now, first of all, this disclaimer. There is no wrong way to play Dungeons & Dragons as long as everyone is having fun. But this min-maxing shame is ridiculous and even contrary to a logical thought. In Dungeons & Dragons, you essentially have a team of players working together to overcome goals, defeat monsters, and complete quests. They are a team. Now, the first thing you need is players that can work together and use teamwork to accomplish goals. That is the most important element of the game. More important than any stats, any class combinations, or anything else. Now, the next thing is each person has a role that they specialize in, that plays. Someone may be a healer. Someone may be a damage dealer. Someone may be a tank. Someone may be a area effect damage dealer. Someone may be the rogue specialist. Someone may be the face of the party that interacts with the NPCs. Every role is important. But here's the deal. Min-maxing is where you figure out what role you want to do and you maximize your effectiveness in this role. Now, this should not be considered a problem. In fact, this should be encouraged because let's face it, it is a team sport. If you're playing football, you wouldn't want a nerfed quarterback that doesn't know how to throw the ball. You wouldn't want a linebacker that can't hold back people. You wouldn't want a receiver that can't catch a ball. You wouldn't want a pitcher that throws the ball in such a way that everyone gets a home run. You wouldn't want your catcher that can't grab the ball or throw it. You wouldn't want a batter that's blind and can't see the ball coming and strikes out every time. It's the same thing with Dungeons and Dragons. If you're going to be the frontline fighter, you better be good at hitting and not dying. If you're going to be the healer, you better be good at keeping people alive and getting them up when they're down. If you're going to be the damage dealing specialist mage, have that fireball ready and be good at it. If you're going to be the rogue that disarms the traps, my goodness, you better be able to detect them, to find them, and to be able to disarm them. Because that's how the team wins. The team wins when everybody can do their job well. Now, some people think min-maxing means you can't roleplay. That is a lie. You can roleplay. Roleplaying has everything to do with the player themselves. And some people are better at roleplaying than others. And if you're not the best roleplayer, you should not be discouraged from having fun and having a good time simply because you made your character well and you use your dice rolls a little more than your roleplaying. I mean, not everyone has a strength of 18. And it's ridiculous to say, Oh, you have to have a strength. You have to be able to lift 500 pounds for your character to be able to do it. So maybe someone has an 18 charisma, but they're not very social. That doesn't mean that you should penalize them or say, well, you can't roleplay, so that's not good. Or maybe you're playing someone with an intelligence of 18 and you're not the best at figuring out how to solve puzzles. Well, the game master should allow you to use your abilities to accomplish the goal without having to use your own natural skill, because it's a game. It's a fantasy. You're allowed to play things that you aren't in real life. Another common misconception about min-maxing is that you're making indestructible characters that have no weaknesses. And that is innately a lie, because every character that specializes in one thing is going to be weaker in others. Let's take, for example, a barbarian. A barbarian is a massive frontlining damage-dealing person. Now, they need good strength, dex, and constitution to pull off their job. Now, using the point system in 5th edition, you'd probably want to have a 16 in your strength, dex, and con. So you start out with a 16 armor class, get +3 to hit and damage, +3 to your initiative, and +3 hit points. Right there, you have a character that's very strong and very tough on a frontline fight. Probably could beat the crap out of an army of orcs. But they lack intelligence, they lack wisdom, and they lack social skills, the built-in counterbalance. On the other hand, if you're playing the face of the party, you're going to want really high charisma and maybe even like double proficiency in one of the social skills, like persuasion. And obviously, that works best when you're playing something that relies on charisma. And of course, the bard and rogues specifically excel in that area. It's ludicrous to say that you're a bad person for wanting your character to be good at the job you assigned for them. It's insanely stupid and just ignorant. Everyone should be allowed. It's a fantasy game. You're playing heroes. You're playing people that are bigger than life. It's an escape from reality. So for God's sake, if you're going to play a hero, you want to be good at what you do. Suppose Han Solo was a horrible shot and a crappy pilot. Well, they wouldn't have got very far in Star Wars now, would they have? And if Luke Skywalker really sucked at using the Force, he wouldn't have been able to save the galaxy. That would have been a pretty boring story. If Conan the Barbarian wasn't indomitable, super strong, and super tough, he would have never went on to save the world and Hyperion and become king. If Arthur was idiot and a horrible leader and not a good swordsman, Camelot would never existed. It would never gone on to be what it was. See, your hero doesn't have to be good at everything. In fact, your character will very likely be weak in certain areas, because that is how min-maxing and optimization works. You figure out what your role is, you define it, and then you maximize your ability to do that role, which also means you're not so good at doing other things. Now, some people try to make characters that can do everything. And if you do that, you might be able to do everything okay, but you're not going to be able to do anything specifically well because of how the game balance works, which is fine if you have enough people that can take care of the other roles that are required. In any case, I hope I shed a little light on the subject and got you to understand that min-maxing is not something horrible, and min-maxers aren't evil people. What they are is people that understand the dynamics of the game, and they want to be good at the role they chose, because that is how the team wins. In fact, one may even argue that if you're purposely nerfing your character, you're hurting the team, and you're actually taking away from the fun from everyone else. Now, some games, maybe everyone has a nerf character, and it's a funny game where everyone sucks at what they're doing, and that's fine as long as it's set up so that you can lose and you don't instantly die, or you want to go through a bunch of characters really fast. I don't know. But in general, when you're playing Dungeons & Dragons and you want your team to succeed, you got to know your role, define it, and be good at it. And everyone should have roles that complement each other and not walk on each other. I mean, you could make a team where everyone's a frontline fighter, but then some mages and flying critters that stay out of range are going to crush you. And of course, you're going to get damaged. Someone's going to get knocked down. So not having someone that can do a little healing can be bad too. And eventually you might have to talk to local guards or gather information to solve a mystery. So having someone that's really good and charismatic helps. In fact, that's really kind of the point of Dungeons and Dragons. The ideal team is where you have multiple players, each taking a specific role that they specialize in. Of course, you should be good at backing up something else. Like if you're the cleric, you might be a good backup frontline fighter because they get good armor and good weapons. If you're a wizard and you're really smart, maybe you took the skill of picking locks and thieves' tools, or maybe you dump some points of charisma to be charismatic. I don't know. You could do that sort of thing. You just have to be good at your main thing. Then you can probably find a secondary thing that you want to be help out with. And then, of course, you got to figure out what you're not good at. And that's how you make a really interesting, three-dimensional, realistic character. One that has strengths, weaknesses, one that plays up to their strengths, that overcomes their flaws, and works with other people to overcome their flaws. I mean, that's the whole reason why you'll have a warrior, a wizard, a cleric, and a rogue going out together, because each of them specialize in something and supplements the others where they're not strong. And that's how you work together to win the encounters. Now, I'm not going to say win D&D because winning Dungeons and Dragons is just a matter of having fun. So as long as you're enjoying yourself and having a good time, and everyone you're playing with is enjoying themselves and having a good time, we all win. Now, if you make a character that you're trying to make optimize just for the sake of killing the rest of the party, that's not winning. And that's what sucks. And that's what gives, I guess, some min-maxers a bad name, because there are some problematic players that try to make characters that'll dominate the game, the game, at the expense of other players. And that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is where everyone wants their team to do well. So they all specialize and make themselves really good at their role. And of course, makes themselves survivable in other regards, so that we can all work together, complete the quest, save the day, go on epic adventures, and have a good time.